How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the homestead. Hopefully you can not only see me but also hear me a little bit better. That's because I finally have an official camera, that being a GoPro Hero 8 Black. So like I said, hopefully you can see and hear me a little bit better. Recently I've been out on the property just trimming up the dead branches like this. They are everywhere. For those of you who don't know, this property way back when was originally just a giant ranch. And then about 20 to 25 years ago, these trees started to sprout up. Since then, at least before I owned the property, it was just neglected. No trimming was done, no wildfire mitigation. So that's what we're out doing. And you may notice that I have a new little toy, new tool. And this is the Stihl, let's see, KM131R. And now it does look like it's, a long arm trimmer like this, but actually it's one of the little changer deals. Now this is the only attachment that I have for it right now, but going into spring, I do plan on getting an edger attachment because we got a lot of weeds in the garden, and with the more garden space I take up with raised beds and whatnot, the less space I can mow, which means I need to get an edger. Now, we're gonna compare this guy to a pretty standard consumer grade chainsaw, MS-261C. If you're a homeowner walking into whatever store would carry a Stihl, the local one for me is North 40. If you're walking into that store and you're a homeowner, you're probably gonna get pointed to this saw right here. Has a 20-inch bar on it. We're not gonna run this saw today, but I just wanted to mention that it does have 3/8 chain. I put that sprocket on there a couple months ago. Runs amazing with 3/8. Definitely recommend that you change out that sprocket if you have other chainsaws. That way you can interchange the chains and bars. Just makes it really handy. Now with all that out of the way, let's get to the comparison. This behind me is a lodgepole pine. You may be asking to yourself, that doesn't look like a lodgepole to me. That looks like a gnarly, scraggly bush almost. And yeah, it does almost look like a bush. When lodgepoles don't grow really tight together or aren't managed properly, this is what can happen. If they're allowed to grow up big and they're not either A, like I said, tied in together, or B, cold, this is what you get. So what happens if you're a homeowner, you just bought a chainsaw, you just bought this property, and you say, I want to get rid of all these branches? You could already see I'm getting poked by all these guys right here. I'm gonna have to trim and cut my way all the way back over and over and over again. All the while, I'm getting poked with branches. There's no way I can avoid it. There's no way if I'm using a chainsaw, I can avoid getting poked and prodded by this tree. Now, what happens if you have a really, really long handle trimmer? You can not only avoid the branches, but you can also get really far in and eliminate a lot of them closer than you would with a chainsaw. Saving time, keeping you a little bit safer. Let's face it, no one wants a branch getting in their eye, right? So we're gonna go through the startup process of this guy because it is a little bit different than a chainsaw. It has a primer bulb on the top. We're gonna give that a couple presses. Over here we got the choke. We're gonna set that to choke. Now this is a problem with specifically this attachment, and I assume the other attachments as well. When I put it onto choke / the half throttle position, either or, what'll happen is the attachment will start to move, i.e. the chain will start to move on this one. So if you're starting this up like I am, now thankfully I have some snow, so it's not like it's digging into the dirt, but if you're starting this up, that nose is on the ground right now. Start it up, that chain is now digging into the dirt, possibly hitting rocks, fouling up the chain. Just not a good deal. Something needs to be done with regards to that. Now, I don't know if the long-armed trimmers, I don't know what they're officially called, by the way. I'll put that in the video, but I don't know if the, standalone units have some sort of a brake on them, at least for startup. But if they don't, they probably should. So without any further ado, I already pumped that. We are on choke. Let's see how we do here. So like I said, right there, when I turn it off a choke onto the half throttle position, the chain starts to move into the snow, into the ground. That's just not a good deal, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely recommend Stihl if you're listening. You may want to figure something out. And if you have one of these, make sure you either start it on a piece of wood, or if you have some snow, that would also save the chain a little bit. So without any further ado, let's see how this does. Well, that made pretty short work of that. And that being said, there are a couple negatives that I want to mention about the attachment itself. Now, number one, it's mainly made out of plastic. So that's a problem in and of itself. If you are going through this and using it pretty hard, day after day, hours on hours on hours, plastic is just not a good option. The second problem I have with it is the oiler. So gonna have a hard time describing it without taking this cover off. The way the oiler works, and yes, it is a small unit, so it's difficult to get a full size like chainsaw style oiler in here, but the way it works is, yes, it would have a worm gear spinning, but it just has like a tube that the oil goes out, not directly onto the bar. It goes through a really small channel on the cover, like looping around, snaking around before it gets to the bar. So you could probably see a lot of bar oil down here. I'll bring it close. Do you see any bar oil on that bar? I don't. The other problem, you can see that the chain's loose. This is not a brand new chain. I've been using this. This is probably like hour 9 to 10, if not more, that I've been using this chain of constant work. This is not like a chainsaw where, you know, you go from full power when you're cutting the tree down to light power when you're bucking to full power, or when you're cutting the limbs off, back to full power when you're bucking, back and forth, where you're either really using the saw or you're not using it too much. This thing is always going. So out of that time, once again, it's gonna loosen up, partially because I assume it's plastic. Again, with all the hard use, plastic is just not a good option. And I could hear some people saying, why would you get something that's a changeable attachment like this if you're not just using it really occasionally? Because that's it. That's what this is for, really. It's for the homeowner. I think it should hold up to this. I don't think what I'm doing is a professional setting. I'm out here working, I think I've been out here for maybe a half hour so far today using this. Yesterday I was maybe 5-6 hours. Day before that it was maybe 4 to 5. So haven't been spending too much time on it. There's no reason why the chain should be loosening up over and over and over again. So again, I'm just kind of ranting at this point. It's not a bad tool. Obviously, it's not a bad tool. I love this thing. I've been using it a lot, and it's going to become one of my favorite tools here on the homestead. But there are just some growing pains I think it needs to go through. I don't know how long this system has been offered for, but there's definitely some tweaks Stihl needs to make with it. Not saying it's a bad unit, just saying that it's not perfect yet. Now this is the main place where the trimmer really shines over the chainsaw. With the chainsaw, you really don't want to put this bar over your head when you're working. You don't want to work up here like this. We all do it if you run a chainsaw, but you're not really supposed to, because kickback is that much easier, so keep that in mind. You also have a reach issue. None of those are a problem with this guy here. No reach issue, no kickback issue, just get to work, which is what I'm going to do right now. Almost gonna shut off like a chainsaw. This thing is a great little machine. So I'm still trying to figure this GoPro out, so bear with me, but I'm gonna attempt to do a time lapse while we go and trim up the trees that are behind me. Let's give it a shot.
Doing a little voiceover here since there's no audio with the time lapse, and I want to ask you guys, as we go into spring and then summer, what do you want to see on this channel? Do you want me to do some fishing videos, property maintenance videos, logging videos, gardening? Let me know what you want to see most, because I definitely do listen to that stuff. If you guys don't want to watch, I don't really have a reason to film, and if you guys do have a reason to watch, then I might as well film that.
And here's the main problem I have using this thing. Over and over and over again, the higher limbs, especially the larger ones, can get this thing hung up pretty damn easily. Now, it's not that big of an issue. Sometimes you could just tug on it a little bit and it comes out. Other times you do need to support the limb and then it'll come free. But the problem is you don't want to tug on this very much because A, it has the extended arm, and B, because it's an attachment. So it's just not that good when this happens. My solution would be to have some sort of a 90-degree attachment for these higher limbs. So you can have this straight attachment for the lower limbs like I was doing on those trees over there, but then when we get higher, have one that has like a gear that pushes it 90 degrees. I doubt it would be too difficult to just put, you know, set up the gearing right there in the head, have a 90-degree shaft coming off of there. That way you're cutting down and allowing that limb to fall instead of having this happen where you're cutting from the side, then as it cuts, eventually it's going to snag. So just a little thought. Who knows, I may just be talking out my ass here. All right, so it's another beautiful day out here. Yesterday was a little bit rainy and stormy here and there, hit and miss, so I figured I would stay inside, rigging up some hoochies for kokanee. Looking forward to getting my boat back from the repair shop. That's a whole long story. Might tell it. Let me know if you want to hear it down in the comments below. But we're going to try something since I got this GoPro. We're going to try out the head cam. I'm also going to be wearing these goggles since I finally got them. Bug's eye goggles. Definitely recommend them. They can kind of give you a false sense of security because they're just kind of the wire mesh. So you do have to wear your safety squint, so to speak, but they keep the big stuff out of your eyes and, you know, just good practice to wear. So I'm going to put this thing on my head and we're going to get ripping and rolling. So we're gonna get to work. We have a couple trees over there that need some limbing. There's a few good sized ones that I really want to focus on, get those out of the way. One of them has a little lodge pole that was like snaking up. I'll have to show you. I already cut the lodge pole at the base, but still need to get it out of there cutting the limb. So we'll see how it goes. So this is what I was talking about right here. I think it's a lodge pole. It may actually be a little ponderosa, but I'm not totally sure. So cut that guy off probably a year and a half ago, but never got around to taking it out because of the branches. Thankfully, I got the tool for the job. There she goes. And with the path of destruction all around us, I think it's good enough to call it quits for the week, because we're gonna have to burn all this next week. But you guys are gonna have to unfortunately wait for that, because I have to do that next week, and I wanna make sure to get this video out to you guys. So make sure to subscribe to see me burning all this stuff that I just cut up. Should be pretty interesting, because it's always quite a bit of work, a lot more work than you would expect, to tell you the truth. So we're gonna be doing that. Not totally sure what else we're gonna be doing, but we shall see. Like I mentioned earlier too, I'm waiting on my boat to get back from the repair shop, and once we do get that back, we're gonna be out on the water fishing for some big ass fish. So we shall see with everything I mentioned. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys subscribed, like, comment if you have any questions, share the video with someone you think also might enjoy it. And with that, you guys, thank you for watching. Think for yourself, shoot straight, and I will see you next time.